Brigadier General Frank, Command Sergeant Major Cornelison, Mr. Hicks, Mr. Montgomery, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Commanding General, 1st Infantry Division in Fort Riley, Major General Wayne W. Grigsby Jr., and the Command Sergeant Major, 1st Infantry Division in Fort Riley, Command Sergeant Major Joseph C. Cornelison, welcome to the March Retirement Ceremony. Each month, a ceremony is held to honor our military personnel who have served their country with distinction. Serving as the official party for today's ceremony is the Deputy Commanding General for Support, Brigadier General Patrick D. Frank, and the Command Sergeant Major, 1st Infantry Division in Fort Riley, Command Sergeant Major Joseph C. Cornelison. Units from left to right represented by their colors are the 1st Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division, the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division, the Combat Aviation Brigade, 1st Infantry Division, the Division Artillery, 1st Infantry Division, the Sustainment Brigade, 1st Infantry Division. The installation and partner units are comprised of the United States Army Garrison, Fort Riley, the Medical Activity, Fort Riley, the Dental Activity, Fort Riley. The case colors represent the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team currently deployed in support of Operation Spartan Shield. Please come forward at any time to take photographs of our retirees except during the playing of the national anthem. After years of commendable service to their country, every career soldier comes to a time when they put aside their duty uniform and retire, either to a new profession or a well-deserved rest. In today's ceremony, the men and women of the 1st Infantry Division at Fort Riley will pay tribute to these retirees and their families who have helped ensure the defense of this great nation during the most momentous period of its history. We ask that you please stand for the invocation given by Chaplain Anthony Kazarnovich, Jr. of the United States Army Garrison, Fort Riley, Kansas, and remain standing for the arrival of the official party and the singing of the national anthem by Corporal Solomon DeBose and the 1st Infantry Division Army Band under the direction of Staff Sergeant Matthew C. Johnston.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning with hearts filled with praise and gratitude for the many years our retirees faithfully and humbly lived the Army values which we treasure so dearly. We thank you for the inspiration and support you gave them they gave to others in the execution of their daily tasks and in their sharing their experiences and wisdom with others. We thank you for helping them and their families adapt to many difficult changes over the years. Give them your help to face newer and even greater challenges in the future. May your presence be with them always. May their memories be fond and sweet for all the good they accomplished and for all the people, known and unknown, whom they helped. Bless them with new good friends, neighbors, and co-workers. Open new doors of selfless service to them to satisfy their already strong desire to make this world a better and safer place to live in. We leave them with this blessing from the Gospel of Matthew. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Since you are faithful in small matters, I will give you great responsibilities. Come, share your master's joy. We end our prayer thankful for what has been, and looking forward with trust in you for what will come in the future. We ask these prayers in your most holy name. Amen. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Deputy Commanding General for Support, Brigadier General Patrick D. Frank.
Well, good morning. Great to see a large audience for this very important ceremony here this morning. Mr. Montgomery, our great CASA, Command Sergeant Major Cornelison, Mr. Roethlisberger, Mr. Hicks, Mr. Stone, distinguished members of our Flint Hills communities, and especially the family and friends of our retirees. Thank you for joining us today as we celebrate the accomplishment of these exceptional soldiers and thank them for a career of selfless service to our Army and to our nation. My name is Pat Frank, and I am a Big Red One soldier, one that is proud that his duty here is today with these outstanding Army retirees. One thing I'd like to point out, I had a chance to very quickly walk down through and shake the hands of each of the retirees before we started the ceremony this morning. And this side of the room is all family and friends, and great to have them here this morning. This side of the room, you see mostly military uniforms over here. And for those guests that are here, what they represent are really the colors that you see to your front. These colors are representative of 15,000 soldiers in the 1st Infantry Division. It's a pretty powerful group. We always talk about our soldiers joining teams, and many of our retirees were on teams when they were growing up in high school. But they joined a 15,000 soldier strong team here with their families, all part of the 1st Infantry Division in Fort Riley, represented by these colors up here, and the battle streamers that many of our retirees today helped hang on these colors. You'll find many of the 06 Colonel Commanders sitting in the seats over here. I see Command Sergeant Majors, First Sergeants, Field Grade Officers, Company Grade Officers, NCOs throughout the ranks over here. So the leadership of the division is here today to support these great retirees that we have. So let's give, on the soldier side, let's give them a round of applause. The retiring officers and non-commissioned officers that we honor here today have a combined total of 250 years of service. Their experiences in the Army from day one of basic training through today are chronicled in our country's history books. Sitting before you are the soldiers that contributed to the fall of the Berlin Wall. They freed Kuwait from Saddam Hussein in 1990. In just over 100 hours of combat operations. They restored democracy in Haiti. They secured a lasting peace in the Balkans. And since the attacks of 9/11, these volunteer soldiers have been on point for the nation in both Afghanistan and Iraq, removing 2 oppressive regimes. They have taken a stand to dismantle the framework of terror established by Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, Jaish al-Mahdi, and most recently, ISIL. They have made a lasting difference for the silent majority of Afghan and Iraqi citizens in achieving stability within these war-torn countries. These officers and non-commissioned officers have walked through the history books of the United States. We are in awe of their demonstrated bravery on the battlefield and their patriotic commitment to duty. The soldiers we're honoring today have served in critical positions throughout our formations. Tough, demanding jobs that require great leaders. These positions were critical in peacetime and are even more demanding now that we are engaged in combat. Assignments like platoon leader in combat, instructor pilot, OH-58 scout pilot, Chief of Space Operations. Thanks. And is that on? For family and friends, in the Army, camo always goes out. So, no different here today. Bradley Maintenance Supervisor and AIT Instructor. Drill Sergeant. Mortar Platoon Sergeant. 3 exceptional recruiters are retiring here today. And I can tell you, that is one tough job. Replacement Company Platoon Sergeant. Operating Room Technician. Look at that wealth of knowledge, skill that has been in the Army for over 20 years in our retirees. Pretty amazing. The program you received today provides interesting background information on our officers and non-commissioned officers. For instance, 30% of this group will remain with us here in the Flint Hills. Additionally, I had the opportunity to talk to many of the retirees. Here are a few of their retirement activities. Spending more time with my family. Finishing my degree. Build a new home from the ground up. Go fishing after the honey-do list is finished. Important. Take up golfing. Sleep in past PT hours. Caveat though. But still stay in shape. It's now a lifelong habit. Oh. Continue to fly helicopters in the civilian sector. Continue to support soldiers in the division as a Kansas resident. Every soldier I talk to is committed to providing their new community their Army values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These will be immediately recognized by the organizations that they join. These are our newest civic leaders based on their professional capabilities and leadership skills. As we pause to remember the careers of each retiree, we would be remiss if we did not thank each family, whether spouse, children, brothers, sisters, or parents. These officers and non-commissioned officers are the strength of our Army. Their families sitting by their side are the strength of our nation. It is not easy being an Army family. Spouses make multiple household moves, sometimes by themselves, other times overseas, and children attend several different schools over a 20-year career. The families here today have shouldered the burden of our combat operations, courageously supporting us and allowing their soldier to remain focused on the mission at hand and achieving victory. The letters, care packages, and emails always brought a smile to your deployed soldier. All of us in uniform sincerely thank you for the encouragement and the support that you provided. To our retirees today, you may be departing the 1st Infantry Division, but your legacy will remain in our formations. Each of you has led, trained, and mentored our next generation of U.S. Army soldiers. You have been a contributing member to the greatest military force in history, and you have liberated hundreds of thousands of people from tyranny. Be proud of your accomplishments and the Army you have built through hard work. We wish you and your family the best in your future endeavors. Continue to live the division motto as civic leaders. No mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great. Duty first.
At this time, Command Sergeant Major Cornelison will join Brigadier General Frank for the awards portion of the ceremony. Major Philip A. Dye is retiring after 22 years of military service. Major Dye is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as the Chief of Space and Technical Operations Company, Division Headquarters and Headquarters Battalion, 1st Infantry Division. Major Dye and his wife Petra have 2 children, Brooklyn and Benjamin. The Dye family will tentatively retire in Junction City, Kansas, where he plans to continue to work in the space career field. Today, Major Dye is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. All Army certificates of retirement presented today are signed by the Army Chief of Staff, General Mark A. Milley, and all certificates of appreciation presented today are signed by the President of the United States, Mr. Barack Obama. Major Dye is also receiving a folded American flag. Brigadier General Frank is presenting an American flag and division coin to each retiree as a token of appreciation on behalf of a grateful nation for their selfless service and the defense of our liberty. Each retiree will also receive a lapel pin that they can wear on their civilian clothes. His wife Petra receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. Today's roses are provided by the Society of the 1st Infantry Division. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Major Philip A. Dye, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Major Philip A. Dye, retired, and Mrs. Dye. Chief Warrant Officer 3, Richard G. Elrod III, is retiring after 20 years of military service. Chief Warrant Officer 3 Elrod is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as an instructor pilot, 1st Squadron, 6th Cavalry Regiment, 1st Combat Aviation Brigade, 1st Infantry Division. The Elrod family will retire in White City, Kansas, where he plans to enroll in Kansas State University for his airframe and power plant license in aviation maintenance. Today, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Elrod is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Chantel receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Richard G. Elrod III, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Richard G. Elrod III, retired, and Mrs. Elrod. Chief Warrant Officer 2 Bob J. Apodaca is retiring after 21 years of military service. Chief Warrant Officer 2 Apodaca is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as a helicopter pilot, 1st Squadron, 6th Cavalry Regiment, 1st Combat Aviation Brigade, 1st Infantry Division. The Apodaca family will retire in Las Vegas, Nevada, where he plans to continue to fly helicopters in the civilian sector. Today, Chief Warrant Officer 2 Apodaca is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Simona receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Chief Warrant Officer 2 Bob J. Apodaca, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Chief Warrant Officer 2 Bob J. Apodaca, retired, and Mrs. Apodaca. Master Sergeant John J. Versage is retiring after 29 years of military service. Master Sergeant Versage is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as the Division Retention Operations Non-Commissioned Officer in Charge, Headquarters Support Company, Division Headquarters and Headquarters Battalion, 1st Infantry Division. Master Sergeant Versage and his wife Patricia have 4 children, Cody, Ashley, Savannah, and Hunter. The Versage family will retire in Junction City, Kansas, where he plans to integrate into the civilian workforce, take up golfing, make up for lost time with his family, and enjoy life and be happy. Today, Master Sergeant Versage is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Patricia receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Master Sergeant John J. Versage, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Master Sergeant John J. Versage, retired, and Mrs. Versage. Sergeant First Class Brian W. Honor is retiring after 24 years of military service. Sergeant First Class Honor is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as the Bradley Fighting Vehicle Maintenance Supervisor, Delta Company, 299th Brigade Support Battalion, 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division. Sergeant First Class Honor and his wife Joanne have 2 children, Austin and Adriana. The Honor family will retire in Junction City, Kansas, where he plans to complete his bachelor's degree. Today, Sergeant First Class Honor is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Joanne receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Sergeant First Class Brian W. Honor, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant First Class Brian W. Honor, retired, and Mrs. Honor. Sergeant First Class Nikki N. Babin is retiring after 26 years of military service. Sergeant First Class Babin is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as First Sergeant, Basic Leader Corps, 1st Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division. Sergeant First Class Babin and his wife Rosalind have 2 children, Macy and Kirkland. The Babin family will retire in Chapman, Kansas, where he plans to continue in assisting soldiers in the local area. Today, Sergeant First Class Babin is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Rosalind receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Sergeant First Class Nikki N. Babin, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant First Class Nikki N. Babin, retired, and Mrs. Babin. Sergeant First Class J.A. Bennett is retiring after 22 years of military service. Sergeant First Class Bennett is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as Battalion S3 Non-Commissioned Officer, Headquarters and Headquarters Company, 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division. Sergeant First Class Bennett will retire in Lincoln, Nebraska, where he plans to spend time with family and go fishing. Today, Sergeant First Class Bennett is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Sergeant First Class J.A. Bennett, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant First Class J.A. Bennett, retired. Sergeant First Class Daniel M. Wells is retiring after 21 years of military service. Sergeant First Class Wells is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as the Brigade Ammunition Logistics Non-Commissioned Officer, Headquarters and Headquarters Company, 101st Brigade Support Battalion, 1st Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division. Sergeant First Class Wells and his wife Jessica have 7 children: Cody, Tyler, John, Nathan, Alexis, Jordan, and Taylor. The Wells family will retire in Bland, Missouri, where he plans to pursue government employment as a Department of Defense civilian at Fort Leonard Wood while spending time with his wife and children. Today, Sergeant First Class Wells is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Jessica receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Sergeant First Class Daniel M. Wells, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant First Class Daniel M. Wells, retired, and Mrs. Wells. Staff Sergeant Keith B. Garvin is retiring after 23 years of military service. Staff Sergeant Garvin is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as a truck driver, Headquarters and Headquarters Company, 299th Brigade Support Battalion, 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Infantry Division. Staff Sergeant Garvin and his wife Marionetta have 2 children, Amber and Ambria. The Garvin family will retire in Killeen, Texas, where he plans to build a new home from the ground up. Today, Staff Sergeant Garvin is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Marionetta receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Staff Sergeant Keith B. Garvin, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Staff Sergeant Keith B. Garvin, retired, and Mrs. Garvin. Staff Sergeant Scott H. Shefford is retiring after 22 years of military service. Staff Sergeant Shefford is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as the first replacement operations non-commissioned officer in charge, Headquarters and Headquarters Company, United States Army Garrison, Fort Riley. Staff Sergeant Shefford and his wife Ava have 2 children, Matthew and Nathaniel. The Shefford family will retire in Omaha, Nebraska, where he plans to attend college for radiology and seek employment as a Department of Defense civilian at Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska. Today, Staff Sergeant Shefford is receiving the Meritorious Service Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Ava receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Staff Sergeant Scott H. Shefford, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Staff Sergeant Scott H. Shefford, retired, and Mrs. Shefford. Our final retiree that we honor today is Sergeant James C. Messer, who is retiring after 20 years of military service. Sergeant Messer is commended for his outstanding service to the nation, culminating with his assignment as an operating room technician, Irwin Army Community Hospital, United States Army Medical Department activity, Fort Riley, Kansas. Sergeant Messer and his wife Amy have 5 children: Scarlett Messer, Savannah Messer, Shelby Messer, Jacob Bagnall, and Nathaniel Bagnall. The Messer family will retire in Trenton, Texas, where he plans to join the civilian workforce as an operating room technician and continue to support our troops any way he can. Today, Sergeant Messer is receiving the Army Commendation Medal, the Department of the Army Certificate of Retirement, and a Certificate of Appreciation. His wife Amy receives the Department of the Army Certificate of Appreciation and a single red rose for her dedication to her husband and the nation. By order of the Secretary of the Army, Sergeant James C. Messer, having qualified for retirement, is released from active duty and placed on the retired list. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant James C. Messer, retired, and Mrs. Messer. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for all the retirees on a job well done. Please be seated. 2 songs will now be performed by Corporal Solomon DeBose, Old Soldiers Never Die, and Auld Lang Syne as a tribute to our retirees.
All soldiers never die, never
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing and singing of the Big Red One song and the Army song. The words are printed in your program. Ladies and gentlemen, the retirees and their spouses will form a receiving line to your front. Please wait until they are all in position before coming forward to offer your congratulations. Please join us for today's reception sponsored by the Fort Riley and Central Kansas chapter of the Association of the United States Army. This concludes the ceremony, and thank you for attending.